Welcome to Iggy's Insights, where we dive deep into economic topics that matter. I'm your host, Iggy, from the Investing Iguana, and today we're exploring a perspective that might challenge your thinking about the Philippines outsourcing industry, a vital economic lifeline now under threat from artificial intelligence and geopolitical shifts. Picture this. It's the late 18th century, and the Industrial Revolution is sweeping through Britain. Steam engines hum, looms clatter, and artisans who spent lifetimes perfecting their crafts suddenly find their skills obsolete. Jobs vanish, but new ones emerge in factories, reshaping society itself. Fast forward to today, and we're seeing a similar upheaval in the Philippines, where call centers and back-office hubs face a modern steam engine, AI. Is this a story of destruction or transformation? Let's break it down systematically, step by step, as we uncover the historical roots, current pressures, and what it all means for workers, companies, and investors like you. Let's start with the historical context, because no economic story makes sense without understanding where it came from. The Philippines business process outsourcing industry, or BPO as we'll call it, didn't just pop up overnight. It's a tale that begins in the late 20th century, when globalization started knitting the world tighter together. By the early 2000s, the Philippines emerged as a global player in outsourcing, thanks to a perfect storm of advantages: a large pool of English-speaking workers, wages lower than in the West, and a time zone that synced nicely with North America and Europe. Companies from the United States and beyond flocked to set up shop, turning cities like Manila and Cebu into buzzing hubs of call centers, IT support, and back-office tasks like payroll and data entry. By 2023, this industry employed about 1.57 million people and raked in $35.4 billion in revenue, making up roughly 7.5% of the country's GDP. That's no small feat for a nation once known more for agriculture and remittances from overseas workers. But this wasn't just luck. The Philippine government played a big role, rolling out tax breaks, building special economic zones, and investing in telecom infrastructure to lure foreign firms. Think of it like the railroad boom in 19th century America. Governments laid the tracks, and businesses rushed in to ride them. Back then, railroads opened up new markets. Today, fiber optic cables and English fluency opened up a new kind of economic frontier. The BPO sector became a lifeline, lifting millions into the middle class and turning the Philippines into a top outsourcing destination, even ranking high on global lists like the Tholen's Top 50 Digital Nations years ago. Yet, just as railroads face disruption from cars and planes, the BPO industry now stares down its own challengers: AI and shifting global politics. So what's threatening this economic engine? Let's zoom in on the first big force: artificial intelligence. AI isn't some distant sci-fi dream. It's here, and it's already reshaping BPO work. Picture a call center agent handling customer complaints about a lost package. Now imagine a chatbot doing that instead, powered by something called robotic process automation, or RPA. This tech can handle routine tasks, data entry, answering basic queries, processing transactions, faster and cheaper than humans. For companies, it's a dream: lower costs, higher efficiency. By 2024, AI-driven tools like virtual assistants are improving customer interactions across the board, and some predict the industry could hit $37.87 billion in revenue this year alone, a 7% jump from 2023. But here's the flip side. Those same tools threaten the jobs of workers who've built their lives around these roles. This isn't a simple story of machines stealing jobs, though. History teaches us it's more complicated. During the Industrial Revolution, mechanized looms wiped out hand weaving, but they also birthed factory jobs that powered urbanization. In the 1990s, the internet gutted traditional retail and newspapers, yet it sparked e-commerce giants like Amazon and digital media empires. AI in the BPO world follows a similar pattern. Yes, it's automating routine tasks. Think of agents reading scripts or typing repetitive forms, but it's also creating demand for new skills. Workers who can program AI, manage data analytics, or oversee complex systems are suddenly in hot demand. The Contact Center Association of the Philippines points out that generative AI can boost agent productivity by automating things like searching knowledge bases, freeing humans to tackle trickier problems. The catch? Not everyone can make that leap. Upskilling takes time, money, and education systems that aren't always up to speed. Projections aim for 2.5 million BPO jobs by 2028, but those jobs will lean heavily on digital expertise, not just a headset and a smile. Now let's layer in the second threat, geopolitics. The Philippines sits in a tricky spot, caught between global superpowers and regional tensions. Take the US-China trade war, which kicked off in earnest around 2018. Tariffs flew, supply chains scrambled, and yet the BPO industry barely blinked. Research from Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group found that low costs and English skills kept the Philippines attractive, even as trade battles raged. But don't get too comfortable. There's a bigger shadow looming, the South China Sea. Disputes over reefs and shoals like Scarborough and Sabina have heated up, with China flexing its muscle and the Philippines leaning closer to the US for support. If tensions boil over into sanctions or slashed trade, the broader economy could wobble, and that might ripple into BPO. Foreign firms might hesitate to invest if they see instability, even if the call centers themselves aren't directly hit. This isn't new territory. Look back to the Great Depression. Global trade crashed, and countries turned inward, choking industries that relied on cross-border ties. Or think of the COVID-19 pandemic, when lockdowns and protectionism prompted some firms to pull BPO work back home. The Philippines adapted then, and it's adapting now, but geopolitics adds a wild card. A stable economy draws investment, a shaky one pushes it away. And with the US strengthening its alliance with the Philippines amid these sea disputes, the stakes are higher than ever. Could this bolster BPO by tying it closer to American firms, or could it scare off others wary of regional flare-ups? That's the tension we're watching. Let's connect these dots from past to present. The BPO industry's rise mirrors those historical shifts we've talked about. Railroads, factories, the internet. Each time, technology or global forces upended the old order, but adaptation turned disruption into opportunity. The Philippines started with basic call centers, then moved to IT solutions and back office work as digital tools evolved. Now, AI is pushing it toward higher value services, think data analytics, digital marketing, or managing AI systems themselves. It's like how textile mills gave way to steel factories, then to tech hubs. The industry's not dying, it's morphing. By 2028, revenue could hit $59 billion if it plays its cards right, focusing on what machines can't easily do: creative problem solving, strategic thinking, human connection. So where are we today? The BPO sector's holding strong despite these threats. Revenue's climbing, employment's growing, and big players like Concentrix are expanding, integrating AI into their playbook. The government's still in the game too, offering tax perks and building infrastructure to keep the Philippines competitive. But the ground's shifting. Jobs are changing, not disappearing entirely. Companies are training workers for digital roles, betting on a future where humans and AI work together, not against each other. And geopolitically, the Philippines is navigating choppy waters, balancing growth with the risks of a volatile region. It's a high-wire act, but history shows this industry's got resilience. Now let's tackle some misconceptions, because myths can cloud our view. First, people say AI will wipe out BPO jobs completely. Not true. It's more like a partner than a replacement. AI handles the grunt work, letting humans focus on complex tasks. Studies show it's boosting productivity, not just cutting headcounts. Second misconception: geopolitical tensions will tank the industry. Sure, they're a risk, but the trade war barely dented BPO, and the sector's proven it can weather storms. The real challenge isn't collapse, it's adaptation. Workers need new skills. Companies need new strategies. And the old model of cheap, rote labor won't cut it anymore. What does this mean for you, the viewer? If you're in the BPO world, don't panic, pivot. Learn AI basics, dive into data science, or pick up digital marketing. The jobs of tomorrow reward tech-savvy humans, not just warm bodies. For companies, invest in training and innovation. Don't just ride the AI wave, shape it. Offer services that blend human ingenuity with machine efficiency, like personalized customer strategies or advanced analytics. And for investors, here's your takeaway. Look at the leaders. Firms embracing AI and diversifying beyond basic call centers, think Concentrix or Accenture, are the ones to watch. But keep an eye on geopolitics too. Stability in the South China Sea could lock in growth. Instability could spook markets. Diversify your bets and dig into the data. Let's zoom out for the big picture. This isn't just about the Philippines. It's about how economies evolve under pressure. The BPO story reflects a global truth. Technology and politics don't destroy industries. They force them to reinvent. Think of Britain's coal towns turning into tech parks, or Detroit's car plants pivoting to electric vehicles. The Philippines could be a case study in resilience or a cautionary tale if it stalls. For modern investors, the lesson is clear. Don't fear change, anticipate it. The BPO sector's worth billions, employs millions, and it's not going quietly. It's adapting, just like those artisans who learned to run factory machines centuries ago. But let's dig deeper into AI's role because it's the heartbeat of this shift. Beyond chatbots, AI is bringing tools like natural language processing and predictive analytics into play. Imagine a system that not only answers customer calls, but predicts their next question based on past behavior. That's happening now, and it's pushing BPO firms to rethink their whole model. Take a company like Superstaff. They're not just taking calls anymore. They're offering end-to-end digital solutions. This isn't automation for automation's sake. It's about value. Clients don't want cheap labor, they want smart labor. And that's where the Philippines has a shot to shine, if it can train its workforce fast enough. Geopolitics deserves a closer look too. The South China Sea isn't just a headline, it's an economic fault line. China's claims clash with the Philippines' rights, and the US is backing its ally with military and economic ties. If trade routes get pinched or sanctions hit, the ripple effects could touch everything from shipping costs to investor confidence. BPO might not feel it directly, but a weaker peso or slower growth could tighten budgets for firms that hire out these services. On the flip side, stronger US ties could mean more American companies doubling down on Philippine outsourcing, especially if China's costs rise. It's a chess game, and the Philippines is a key player, not just a pawn. Let's bring in a historical parallel that ties this together: the Telegraph. In the 19th century, it revolutionized communication, much like the internet did later. Businesses that clung to old ways, think Pony Express, faded, while those that wired up thrived. Today, AI and digital tools are the new Telegraph, and BPO firms that plug in will lead the pack. The Philippines has a head start, English skills, a young workforce, a track record, but it can't rest. Education's the bottleneck. Schools need to churn out coders and analysts, not just call center recruits. Government and industry must team up like they did to build the sector in the first place, to bridge that gap. For workers, this is personal. I've talked to folks in Manila, agents who've spent a decade on the phones, raising families on those paychecks. AI feels like a threat, and it is, to the old way, but it's also a ladder. One agent told me she's learning Python now, aiming for a data job. That's the spirit. Don't wait for the wave, ride it. Companies see this too. Big players are rolling out training academies, turning script readers into tech specialists. It's not charity, it's survival. A skilled workforce keeps the Philippines competitive when India or Vietnam come knocking with their own outsourcing pitches. Investors, let's circle back to you. The BPO sector is a goldmine if you pick the winners. Look at revenue trends. 35.4 billion in 2023, 37.87 billion projected for 2024, maybe 59 billion by 2028. That's growth, even with AI and geopolitics in the mix. But it's not all rosy. Firms stuck in the past, think low-end call centers with no tech edge, could shrink as clients shift to AI or reshore to places like the US. Your move? Bet on innovators, companies blending AI with human talent, expanding into new markets like healthcare or finance BPO. Those are your safe harbors. And watch the news. A quiet South China Sea means steady gains. A flare-up means volatility. Spread your risk and you'll sleep better. So what's the takeaway? The Philippines BPO industry isn't crumbling. It's evolving. AI is a double-edged sword, cutting jobs but forging new ones. Geopolitics is a wild card, but resilience is the ace up the sleeve. This is economic Darwinism, adapt or fade. For workers, it's a call to learn. For companies, it's a push to innovate. For investors, it's a chance to back a sector in flux, with big rewards for those who read the tea leaves right. History says change is messy but survivable. The Philippines has the bones to thrive. Let's see if it builds the muscle. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. If you like peeling back the layers of the BPO story, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more Iggy's insights. Drop a comment. Tell me your take on AI, geopolitics, or where you'd invest. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your mind open. This is Iggy, signing off.